Chad with Drawn and Cornered. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about Amy Coney Barrett's confirmation hearing and the best arguments that can be made for and against abortion right now if the sides just dropped all the facades. So Amy Coney Barrett's confirmation hearings will be starting today, and you can imagine there's going to be a ton of fireworks up on Capitol Hill for this, because obviously there's a lot of people that want to make their name known as far as all these public hearings. It always happens. There's just a lot of grandstanding, and this is a great opportunity right before the election to get your name out there, to get your image out there, and really get some zingers in there as you can. Just sort of politics at its worst, and we can expect to see a lot of that today. We also can expect to see a lot of questions about her stances as they pertain to abortion, perhaps guns, things that might come up in the Supreme Court shortly, even election law. She, of course, will not answer any of these specific questions about how she'll rule. It's the same answer that all the judges give, that I won't talk about upcoming cases in the Supreme Court and how I would necessarily rule. So they'll try and get into generalities, and they'll hammer her with her record as far as her religious past and things she's done and organizations she's been involved with. But it can all boil down to a much simpler stance on abortion, and there is a common ground that both the right and the left, and even the extremes of the right and the left, can come together on and hopefully agree. And I think if each side is willing to give up certain portions, we'll find that hitting that center line is a little bit easier to do. I'll start with the right first because it's the side that I'm on. It's the side that I understand a little bit better. But first and foremost, we have to get rid of this idea that birth control is a bad thing. It's going to piss off the evangelical side and the folks that think abstinence is the only way to have birth control, or that's the only birth control that should be used. It's just not tenable. It's not a practical solution. It's pie in the sky. It's a little bit. If utopia existed, abstinence would be a great option. As of right now, clearly it's not working. And if we want our side, if abortion is the main goal, or eliminating abortion, then it has to be something that we bring into our quiver and are willing to use is birth control. It's out there, it's plentiful, especially in America. And this consists not only of the idea of birth control being acceptable, but perhaps even the funding and making this more broadly available, making the education more broadly available, so that women that need this have access to it and have the knowledge with which to get it, to use it, which one ever they're going to be using. That it needs to be part of our platform if abortion is going to be handled in the right way. Now for the left, and this might be a little bit trickier, the left has to bring back the stigma of abortion and the idea that this is a life that is being lost. And it has to exist, because if the idea is that it's just a clump of cells and it's meaningless, well, then there's really no reason to stop it. Like, nobody is out there fighting for the polyps that are removed or for cancerous growths that are removed. Nobody's fighting on their behalf, because it doesn't mean anything. In fact, it's actually probably a net positive that they're lost, because it's just a clump of cells. Nobody cares. So if there's no value in that clump of cells, then it doesn't matter one way or the other. And that has to be lost if you want to move forward with the idea that abortion is actually a negative. And not necessarily for the person. It doesn't make them a monster. It doesn't mean that it makes them a bad person. It's just that we have to recognize that there is value to those cells, and ultimately we don't want to encourage or to lose those cells if at all possible. And that works hand in hand with the birth control side. That if you bring back the idea that there is value there, that is a life, and whether that's worthy of sacrifice or not, we need to know that that life, we would like to not create it if we don't want to keep it. And that's where we can both join. That's the center line that is possible between the right and the left, is if both sides can say, hey, ultimately what we're fighting against, if we're fighting against abortion or limiting abortion, is fighting against unwanted pregnancies. And that's where we both should be able to agree. I don't think the left wants unwanted pregnancies any more than the right wants unwanted pregnancies. There's no point in unwanted pregnancies. It doesn't benefit anybody to have unwanted pregnancies. So we should both be able to come together and fight against that. And that's going to take education. That's going to take birth control being available. That's going to take being a little bit more responsible as a culture around the idea of pregnancy. And I think that if both sides are willing to give up a little bit, and it's pretty entrenched sides right now, so it's going to take a lot to convince people that this is the right way to go. But once you do that, that center line, that line where we can both attack this under the same umbrella, I think could be really advantageous to lowering and limiting abortions as much as possible. We probably will never wipe them off the face of the earth completely, but the thing that I've always thought is that I don't care if the abortion law exists on our books if we don't have to use it. And I think ultimately the practical sense of this and being able to limit those abortions as much as possible is our ultimate goal and should be our ultimate goal. And hopefully this might make you think about abortion a little bit differently. Amy Coney Barrett won't say any of this because she's religious right. So I'm thinking the birth control aspect of it, and especially the religious liberties aspect of the birth control argument, is going to enter in there. So don't expect any of this from your leaders today, but I do think it's a more common sense, tame version of the abortion argument that all sides can come together with. Thank you very much for watching today. We will have more tomorrow, hopefully about how the first day of the confirmation hearing goes and any other news that pops up there.